a cousin of mine came to visit. She'd just become a believer in Yeshua and started telling us, maybe he's the Jewish Messiah. I went to church with her once, just because I was curious. I thought they were all insane, and I was not at all interested in what was going on. But I felt something different. My dad found out where we had been. All hell broke loose. My dad freaked out and nearly kicked my cousin out of the house. He did not speak to us for 2 weeks.
As soon as dinner was over, my mother gets this kind of weird look on her face, like something uncomfortable is going on. When the dishes are cleared, she says to us, I have something really important that I want to tell you all. It's very difficult for me to say, and I know you're going to think I'm crazy. And we're like leaning on the edge of our chairs. Couldn't imagine what was going to come out. And she tells us that she now believes in Jesus. And that's when I freaked out and sometimes, oh my God, I don't even know who that woman is sitting there, but I don't know her. That's not my mother. Mom, this can't be.
When I had shared with my family that I had received Yeshua as my Messiah, there was a lot of rejection. And they said, how could you do this? And don't you know what Christians have done to our people over the years? And thought I had joined a cult.
And I talked with my sister and my brother because, we had all been together. What do you think? Could he be the Messiah? And my sister was horrified. It was like I just asked the most horrible thing ever, and I could feel this wall come up, absolutely not. Do not look into this. Are you crazy?
The rabbis have looked into the Hebrew scriptures for thousands of years. If in any way spoke of Jesus or pointed to him, they would know. But they reject him, so it can't be.
And as we're getting ready for this really cool event that we're going to, I have one of these guys come up to me from the trip. And he came and he said, I heard that you believe in Jesus. I said, yeah. He says, well, why? According to our Bible, it says here, here, and here things about the Messiah. And I believe that Yeshua came and fulfilled those things. And his roommate in the hotel was getting ready. And as we kept talking, I could see his roommate getting visibly more angry. This former Air Force guy cursed me out at the top of his lungs with every expletive you can think of. I had never been berated like that before. And there were even people in the hall who had heard this guy shouting at me and were kind of looking to see what was going on. And at the party, the leaders of Birthright group of Taglit pulled me aside. They said, so we've spoken to our superiors. You're going to have to leave the trip.
I couldn't deny that Yeshua was real, but I was faced with this dilemma of my dad, my friends. What's gonna happen? It was such a big struggle in my heart. Do you go with the truth or do you go with what's comfortable?
And so I flew home and my dad picked me up from New York. And the first question he asked me was, are you angry at them? And I thought for a second. I said, Dad, it had never occurred to me to be angry. They're not rejecting me. They're rejecting the Messiah who lives inside of me.
Years later, they've seen the positive change in my life. And now Maxie and I are, for the most part, assimilated back into our families. We're being invited to weddings and bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs. Jesus is an Israeli Jewish man. It's not easy being a follower of Yeshua. It's not easy being a Jewish follower of Yeshua.
Whatever the cost was, I figured it's worth it. I love my family more than anything, and I want them to accept me. But sometimes when you say or you choose a side, you have to choose it and you stand on it.
My mother says to me, hey, guess what? I met a Jewish rabbi, and he's a believer in Jesus. Every afternoon, she's bringing me in these little things to read, these little pamphlets, these little tracts. There's all these prophecies about the Messiah in the Hebrew Bible. And these pamphlets are also talking about how all these things are fulfilled by Jesus in the New Testament. And I started looking up, are these things really in there? And sure enough, they are. Every one of them is in. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to make of this. And we started attending the Bible study every Tuesday. And now for the first time ever, I'm meeting other Jewish believers in Jesus like myself. So I began to pray for the first time. And one of the things I was praying for was, God, you need to really show me that this faith in Jesus is real, because look at all I've given up, being ostracized, and life is crazy now.
I mean, to have a close relationship with God, the truth is worth it. Life with Yeshua would be worth it.
Maybe you have a story to add to these. For some of us, our decision to follow Yeshua comes with a high cost. And truthfully, as tough as these situations seem, others have paid a much higher cost for their faith. And this takes us to this week's study. We'll start at Matthew 5:10. Blessed are those who have been persecuted for the sake of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely on account of me. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward in heaven is great. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you.
All of the disciples of Yeshua and many of his followers throughout history have faced horrible persecution, losing their families, beaten, stoned, hungry, burnt alive, hung on a cross. One of the greatest evidences of the truth of the gospel is the deaths that the early followers of Messiah faced. The fact that not only were they willing to die for their Messiah, but that each of them faced these horrific trials with such joy can only mean one thing. It proves that what they witnessed of Yeshua was true. Nobody would die for something they knew was a lie, but an even greater witness is the joy and strength we see in many facing persecution and even death.
Now, it's important to note a few things about this. Followers of Yeshua don't look for persecution. We're not looking to be killed to gain some heavenly reward. Unlike terrorists who kill themselves to kill others, believers willingly walk into some of the most dangerous situations to bring life to others through Yeshua, to give, serve, and share the gospel of peace.
But it's not a suicide mission. We're always seeking to live another day to serve the Messiah. But we're not backing down from threats and trials, but pushing through the fear of rejection and trials so that we can help others. Some men sold themselves as slaves so that they could reach and help other slaves. Some took on governments and religious establishments to bring the Word of God to the world. But the key of it all is their drive of love towards their Messiah and love to other people to whom they were sent.